Okay, if you've made it this far, you should have your whole layout on your deck with all your marks and everything like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start framing walls. So what you do is you get two plates, bottom plate, top plate, tack them together, set them right on the floor where the wall is. You start with the exterior walls, and then after those are stood up and braced, you'll start with your interior walls. You've got your two plates. Normally they'd be cut to length, but I'm just going to do that in one step. You can see my layout marks on right on the deck here. I'm going to start transferring all that up to the top and bottom plate. Just make a mark with your X's all the way across. Okay, you can see all those marks on there. So now I'm going to use my combination square and just start squaring those across the face of the plates. Hang on. Okay, I've got my layout marks on my plates. You can see my door opening with the jack and the king, jack and the king. So I'm going to cut these off. And we're going to start gathering up the rest of our materials. So we're going to need headers and studs. So everywhere you see an X is a stud. Everywhere you see a B is a full-length stud. A J is a jack. And then I'll tell you how to figure out the headers in a second. Okay, we've got our plates, their layout marks on there. We've got our 19 studs, and we've got a 2x10 for a header. So the way these get built, these walls are laid down like this. All the studs are installed in between, and then you tip the walls up. And that way you can still see all your layout on the face of the plates. Next step is we should open these up and square the layout lines across to the 3.5 inch dimension of the plate if it was a 2x4 plate. So we would hold these on here, they're square. Full scale construction, you'd just be doing this with a speed square. Put all your layout marks on there. And we're good. All right, now that we've got our plates laid out, we have to calculate how big our headers are. So our headers are going to be assembled like this in like an L shape. And so now we have to find the length. So we're going to need two pieces, one like this and one 2x piece for the bottom of our header. So if you remember, headers sit in a rough opening. They butt the stud and they sit on top of the jack. That makes the rough opening. So this would be our rough opening right here. On our window schedule, window and door schedule, it gives us our rough opening. So this door right here, door number 1, has a 3-inch rough opening, 3 inches wide. So our header height is going to be 3 inches plus the thickness of the two jacks. So if we put the two jacks together and we measure that thickness, we get 9/16 of an inch. So our header assembly is going to be composed of one piece of little scale 2x10, 3 9/16, and one little piece of 2x4, 3 9/16. So I'll mark both of those, 3 9/16. And then we can cut them off. Okay, so we've got our header assembly. We can glue that up. You can use tape or rubber bands. Just keep the one edge flush right here, all flush, all the way across. Okay, now to figure out our jacks. So on our drawing, the window head height is 6 3/4 inches. So that's 6 3/4 inches off the deck, off the subfloor deck to the head height of the window. Or the door. It's head height of the door. So we need 6 3/4, and you have to subtract the thickness of the sole plate, the bottom plate. So the jacks are going to sit on top of there, and from the bottom point, which is the subfloor, to here should measure 6 3/4. So we can just take our jack, take 6 3/4, and subtract the thickness of one of these here. So that's 1/4 of an inch. So the jacks are going to be 6 1/2 inches tall. Okay, so we've got our header made. We've got our 2 jack studs cut. Next is corner posts. So on this wall, this corner post is going to be assembled in an L shape, just like that. And it'll get installed on the corner of the building so that you'd have nailing on the inside for drywall. This wall over here, because our 16 on center layout puts this stud too close to this to get a L-shaped corner post in there, this one we're going to just glue up as a triple. So it's just going to be 3 studs glued together, installed in that corner. So we've got nailing on the outside, 16 on center for our sheathing, and we've got nailing on the inside for drywall. So go ahead and assemble these 2 corner posts. You can just tape them up, glue them and tape them, and then they'll be ready to install. Okay, just like in full scale framing, you're going to want all these edges to be nice and flush. That way you don't have any humps either on your drywall on the inside or the sheathing on the outside. Same here, you're going to want this edge to be nice and flush and the tops and the bottoms to be nice and flush. So that's all the pieces you need for this wall. Next video, we'll start putting it all together.